Hello once again out there to all of my fellow Fix-It employees. Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory. I know you guys have been anxiously awaiting another episode of this, and you're like, "Oh, has he stopped? Is he no longer making this? Are you going to continue this series?" Yes, I am. I'm just working on an episode right now that's taking a little bit longer to do, which is customization. We're trying to turn this factory, instead of just being a big open, like, eyesore, to something that looks more like an actual sci-fi factory kind of thing. That's the idea, and that will be the next episode that we're going to do. But like I said, it's taking a little longer, and I wanted to get something out to you guys. So something I had discussed before was maybe doing a video about the best early recipes that you can get in the game, or just the best recipes in general. One thing I didn't want to do was, I mean, so many other people have done videos about the best recipes that I just didn't want to be like another copy and paste video talking about the same exact thing. I mean, although most people who say certain recipes are the best, it's usually the same recipes. So, but instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go from where we are currently in the game with everything we have unlocked, because the recipes that you get are based on the tiers that you are at the moment. So I want to kind of do more of a walkthrough version of that. I'm going to show you 5 different locations that you can get a hard drive from. And we're going to see what we get off of those hard drives and make the best choices out of that. Now, when you get a hard drive, it is typically going to be a different hard drive. You're going to get 3 selections to choose from every time you research a hard drive. And they're going to be random. Most likely you're not going to get the same ones I do. But you should at least see some of these while you're playing. And yeah, I'm going to show you which ones we get as an option and tell you which one I'm going to choose and why. So that's kind of the general idea. Now, I know that a lot of you guys are new players. So you are probably psyched about Update 6. You may already be playing on Experimental. You may not be. If you are a new person to the game, maybe you don't know how to get to Update 6 and get on the experimental version. Or maybe you're just following along, so you want to stick with just Update 5 for now, and that's completely fine. So I just kind of want to point this out, that my Satisfactory how-to series is only going to be Update 5 for the moment until Update 6 is released on the actual early access part. So we're not going to mess around with experimental for the how-to series. It's going to be pretty much just early access and Update 5 still at this moment. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about what we're going to need real quick. First of all, safety first. Make sure your health is all the way up. So get into your inventory, grab your nuts if you have them. Oh, I have no nuts. Oh, no, wait, there they are. They're already in my hand. I already have 5 nuts. All right, so I'll have to eat some berries too. All right, so anyway, let me go through here and just kind of, let's get our health up. Alright, so my health is pretty much full. It's not completely full, but it's mostly full. So I would probably also recommend, if you have the items to do so, to make some of those therapeutic asthma inhalers. You know what I'm talking about. The ones that fill your health up all the way. The nutritional inhalers, if you have those, or anything else of that nature. Go ahead and make some of those just in case you might need them, just for first aid. Alright, so a few other things we're going to need for these specific crash sites. That way you can unlock the containers. Actually, it isn't much compared to what some need. So for these 5 that I'm going to show you, you are going to need about 12 screws, which we do have. You're going to need 15 modular frames. I currently have 36 on me, so we're good on that. 1 quick wire. I have 483. So let's see. We're going to need 4 steel beams. I don't seem to have any beams on me, so we'll have to grab some of those. Luckily, we are making some of those, so that shouldn't be a problem. And we're going to need a way to create power, some sort of power generator. I would probably recommend a biomass generator, because we only need to make like 20 megawatts of power. So enough stuff to make a biomass generator, a little bit of cabling, and something to put in it, such as wood, flowers, biomass, biofuel, something of that nature. You don't need much, just enough to go for like a few minutes. So, all right, let me grab some steel beams since I don't have any of those, and we're going to head out. All right, so this first location I'm going to show you isn't actually part of the 5 that I'm going to show you, but I am going to kind of discuss it a little bit. So if we head over to right there where our copper mine is, Boom. We are now over here. All right, so over here to the east is a crash site. Now, we've already been over to this crash site over here. I did this in an earlier episode where we first talked about crash sites, how they're used, and the researching of the hard drives and all that. But I'm going to go right over here, and we're going to discuss this just once again. Now, a crash site is typically going to look kind of like this. You should see some crash debris laying around. There's going to be some random parts just sitting here. I've already gotten everything here, except for some odd reason these aren't plates I didn't grab. Don't know why, but yeah, we're going to get those. And then you're going to see the drop pod. So the drop pod is what we're going to get our hard drives out of. So this one's already open. If you guys have been following along, you've probably already gotten this. In fact, a few of these that I'm going to show you, you may have already unlocked anyway in your travels. But we're going to go over them anyway. So this one in particular required power to get it to unlock. What I did was just ran a cable from over here, like over there, up to here, and just unlocked it, which was the easiest way to do this one because it's so close to where our factory is. The alternate recipe, I didn't well, I got the hard drive out of it, and then I researched the hard drive in the MAM, which takes about 10 minutes. Now, the alternate recipe that I got out of that was, let me plop down a assembler here real quick, because all alternate recipes can only be made in machines. You cannot make an alternate recipe on the workbench yourself manually. You have to do it in a machine. So the first one that I have unlocked here is the alternate copper rotor. Out of the 3 choices that I got in my hard drive, this was probably the best one at the time. So I went ahead and grabbed it. It does make 3 copper rotors instead of just 1 rotor, and it makes 3 in 16 seconds compared to 1 in 15 seconds. So yes, this is a much faster way of making rotors and requires screws and looks like some copper sheeting there compared to screws and iron rods there. So it does require more screws, but you're going to get more copper rotors. So, you know, there's a trade-off to all of these. But anyway, that is the first alternate recipe that I've got. If you did everything that I did, you probably may have gotten a different recipe. So actually sound off in the comments down below which recipe you got first when going through my how-to series. I'm actually interested to know. All right, so from here, we are now going to head south, kind of southeast a little bit, kind of that direction. So let's head over this way. Now you are going to pass by this little pond, and then you should come by a little cliff right here. And then as we make our way over here, you should come across a gigantic pit right over here. Uh-oh, something wants to attack me. Okay, never mind. He's not going to. All right, so in this pit, there is going to be some limestone down here. There is a yellow slug right there, which is good to have, and some more limestone over there. This is a good place for limestone, actually, but there's a better place we're going to probably work off of over there by our factory. Anyway, let's hop down here, and we're going to take, there is a gigantic mama spitter down here, so we're going to have to take care of her first. All right, so there she is, right over there. She sees us too. I'm going to take care of this thing real quick, and then I will return. All right, so go ahead and grab this power slug while we're here. We might as well, right? That is 2 power shards, which could come in handy later. All right, now we're going to go up out of this pit, and again, we're going to be heading kind of east for the most part, just right up there. All right, and as we top over this hill here, you can see I'm already being attacked by a couple of chargers here, but you should see the crash site as soon as you crest that little cliff right there. Get rid of him. I don't know where the other one went. Oh, right there. He's behind me trying to sneak up on me. Fireflies. You know, I don't think if I've ever shown firefly. Yeah, we've went over the fireflies. These guys, I don't like these guys. They've been changed in Update 6, but since we're not playing in Update 6, we still have the old ones here. Let me get rid of this guy, too. Ugh, all these things just want to bother me. All right, so we have some fireflies guarding here. Every crash site is going to most likely be guarded by some sort of enemy or some sort of pest or something. So I'm going to take care of these guys here, and we're going to take a look at this crash site. All right, so with the enemies gone, we can kind of look around here. You can see that there are stuff laying on the ground here. This is the debris I was talking about. So I'm just going to pick some of this up. Looks like I got some circuit boards, some wire, and this is all going to be random for you guys. You will not have these same things here for the most part, but I will always take free parts. So all right, looks like that's about everything I'm seeing that we can pick up here. So let's take a look at this crash site and see what we're going to need here. So if we open this up and we can look at it, it's going to tell us what we're going to need. Now remember I told you needed 12 screws? Those 12 screws was for this crash site right here. So we have that. Pull down the lever and grab your hard drive out of it. Like that. Boom! One hard drive. Alright, see how easy that was? Now we're going to move on. We are now going to head all the way over to where our Caterium mine is. Alright, a bit of a trek over here to get to the Caterium mine, but now that we are here, we're going to go over here to the left of the Caterium mine. It's kind of east here, and it's going to be right over there in those woods. You should see it. So let's just hop down here, and oh, there's some bacon. We'll grab that. And jump over here. Now, we might have some guardians over here, maybe? Yes, looks like a couple of chargers over here. Alright, so we've taken care of those, and I've most likely already picked this place clean. Oh, actually, for some odd reason, I haven't. I don't have enough space on me to grab any of this stuff. But anyway, pick up your inventory that's laying on the ground here, and let's head over here and take a look on this pod. Now, this pod is going to need 5 modular frames. Not a problem. We brought those with us, or at least hopefully you listened to me and did so. We're going to grab this hard drive out. There we go. And that's that one. Now, essentially, they're over at the original hard drive location I showed you over to the east. There are a few more kind of north of that one, kind of northeast. Actually, these things are littered all over the entire map. But there's some more over that way. But the reason I'm not going that far over is because I'm kind of making a circle here. So we went from east, kind of down here to the south. And we're just going to kind of make a circle around. So now we're going to head kind of north for the most part. So we're going to climb up this and climb out of here. And what we're going to do, if you are heading kind of northwest for the most part, you should see the waterfalls over there. We're going to go over here to the edge of these waterfalls. Right up there. Now, as you're kind of heading up here in between these rocks right here, you should sort of kind of make out the crash site up on top of that rock. So what we're going to do is jump up on top of that there. There's a couple ways we can do this. We can kind of go around. Or we can just build some ramp foundations and get right up on top of that. That is another option. And that's the option I kind of like. So I'm just going to build that. And then we're going to head up here. Now we do have a spitter up here I'm going to take care of real quick. And then we want to get up on top of that rock right there. So, again, same thing. We'll grab our ramps and just build some ramps up to that. Zoop being on makes this much easier to do, by the way. Alright, so first thing you want to do is when you get to a crash site is look around for any enemies you may have to take care of. I don't see any, so we're good up here. And then you should have some different stuff laying around. There's some more circuit boards we can grab. Over here is some industrial beams, and that's kind of nice to have. More wire, more beams. I'm going to grab these beams. Alright, here we go. Alright, so I'm going to pick these up. For some odd reason, I had a ton of ore and limestone on me, and I don't know why. Don't know where that exactly came from, but yeah. Alright, so grab those circuit boards there. Yeah, okay. Now, let's take a look at this one. This one is going to need 1 quick wire. 1. That's all. How easy is this one? Alright, so we're going to pull the lever and grab the hard drive out of that one. There we go. Now, our next one is going to be over here across the waterfalls, right over in there. So, we're going to jump back down here. We're not going to jump off here because that could possibly hurt us a lot. So, we're going to go back down the way we came, which is down this ramp right here. And remember, guys, once you are done with your ramps, don't forget to grab them back, because you never know when you might need that concrete. It might come in handy later. Alright, so keep heading west over here to the waterfalls. Now, looking at the waterfalls, you should see our next crash site right out there on that little rock pillar, right at the edge of the falls. So, there's an easy way to get to this. A couple of easy ways. This water, I don't think is too deep. So we could just kind of jump down and go over there and build some ramps up. But I think what I'm going to do is just a little bit easier. I'm going to just build a ramp and zoop that all the way out through there. Alright, crash site number 3. doesn't seem to be guarded by anything I'm seeing here, which is good. So I'm going to grab these screws and pick up all the parts laying around here. Not really any good parts here. All right, so let's take a look at the crash site number 3. For this one, you're going to need 5 more modular frames. Not a problem. We brought those with us once again. Grab the hard drive, and there we go. Crash site number 4, actually, is what this one is. And let's move ahead. There is a blue slug right down there if you guys want to grab that while we're here. There we go. I grabbed the slug. All right. Now, our next one, let's see this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our next one's going to be back over there, so we're going to head back across. I'm just going to leave our ramps that we built there for the moment because they're a little bit out of the way. But essentially, what we are going to do now is we are going to head back, and we're going to head all the way to where our coal power generators are. That's where we want to go. So head over to that area. All right, so as you can see, right down there is our coal factory and our power generators and everything right there on the edge of this huge, giant, like, lake right here. Now, there should be a waterfall right there. And what we're going to do is we just kind of go right over here, look behind the waterfall. And right over here in the middle of this water, there's the crash site right there. And then right there in the water is our drop pod. So, it is guarded by, looks like a couple of chargers, at least one that I see. So I'm going to take care of our little pest. Oh, there's the other one. Aha, he was hidden. Mama said knock you out. So I'm going to knock you out. All right, so we got some cable here. We've got some copper wire. Ooh, there's some iron plates just kind of sitting in the thing. Actually, I can't pick those up. No, okay. I can't pick any more of that either. There's a few goodies here, and my inventory is once again full. So, right. All right, so in the water is our drop pod. So we are going to need a couple of things here. First of all, we're going to need 20 megawatts of power. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into power. We're going to build a biomass burner right here, close to the edge, like so. We are going to then put a cable from that to the drop pod. There we go. And then insert some fuel into that. Flowers will work great here, actually. And that should be producing enough power there. And then we just have to get over to the drop pod by swimming. Jump up on top of the pod. Try to open it. And now it's going to tell us it also needs one more thing. It needs 4 steel beams. So, occasionally you will come across a drop pod that needs not 1, but 2 things. It's usually going to be power and something else. This one requires 20 megawatts of power and 4 steel beams. So we have the 4 steel beams. So we're going to pop this open, and there is our 5th hard drive, just like that. All right. There's also a blue slug over there on the side of the wall, so I would say go ahead and get it while we're here. All right, picked up that slug. Now let's go ahead and head back to home base. Okay, a little bit of a long journey, but we are finally back at our home location here, and right in front of our ma'am. So what we're going to do is we are going to go up here to hard drive in the molecular analysis machine here, and we're going to start popping these hard drives in here. But here's a little trick that I'm going to show you guys. Now, technically, this is kind of cheating, so you can do this if you want to, but one option is before you actually scan a hard drive. So let's say we have these 5 right now, right? And you're looking for a specific recipe, and you want to make sure that you get that recipe. Well, what you could do is you can actually just go in and save the game as something, right? And then after you save your game, plop in your hard drive like that, and that's going to take about 10 minutes for that to analyze, basically, and figure out what we're going to get out of that. So before we get our recipes, we got to wait 10 minutes right now. If by chance you don't get a good choice of recipes, you could go back, reload the game from where you last saved it, and do it again. Now, if you've already started scanning the hard drive, this won't work, but that's why you save it before you actually start scanning the hard drive. And then once you rescan it after reloading the game, you'll get a different set of recipes. So it's a bit of a cheat. You know, if you want to do that, you could. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to see what we get out of these 5 hard drives. So let's see what our first one's going to give us. All right, so our first hard drive has given us solid steel ingots, bio coal, and Caterium wire. So let's weigh the benefits of each of these. For one, I'm thinking biocoal, not going to be that great because it just basically turns biomass into coal, and we already have enough coal and everything to run our generators over there to do us. So this one is a definite no. I can see a possibility of maybe somebody needing this, but I really think this is the worst option out of all three of these. Next, we have the solid steel ingot. All right, so looking at this one, I kind of think that this is a very solid choice. No pun intended. The solid steel ingot, first you create iron ingots, and then you mix that with coal, and then it creates a steel ingot. And it actually creates about 60 per minute, which is one of the best steel ingot recipes in the game. Yes, you do have to take some iron and turn it in, so there's like an extra step there. Instead of just using iron ore and coal to make regular steel ingots, you have to make the iron ore into the ingots first, so it adds that extra step. But you're going to get probably, I'm going to say, almost double. Well, not really double, but close. So regularly you would get about 45 per minute. Now you're making 16 or 60 per minute, so you're getting about 15 more ingots every minute, and that's really good actually. So I am probably going to go ahead and get this one. But looking over here at the Caterium wire, this isn't a terrible choice either. This gives you another option to use a Caterium for. So instead of just making Caterium like quick wire, you could also turn that into regular, like just regular copper wire, and that is also a pretty good choice right there too. I would most likely choose the solid steel ingots over the Caterium wire though, specifically right now because we only have like one Caterium location and we're having to go over there and hand get it. So this one's not going to be very good for us right now at the moment. The solid steel ingot though, we can make steel ingots much quicker and like a ton of them a whole lot faster. I like this one. I say this is the pick. So let's go with this one. And we're going to scan hard drive number 2 now. Okay, so hard drive number 2 was not kind to us at all here, really. The first choice we have is the crystal beacons. This is a complete and 100% no. Don't need this, especially if you're planning on playing on Update 6. Update 6, the beacons are kind of did away with. We don't really need them anymore. Most of the recipes are going away for those. In fact, if you're already playing on Update 6, you most likely will not even get this recipe. I can't say for sure if they've actually taken the alternate recipe out of the game or not, but I'm sure they will. So anyway, yeah, this one, we're not even going to look at that one. The other two are decent. They're not horrible, but I just really didn't think there are actually better other than the steel rods. The steel rods could be good because you can make a lot of rods with that one. For example, let's take a look at the normal recipe. The normal recipe, you take iron ore or iron ingots, and it makes 1 iron ingot produces 1 iron rod, and that's 15 per minute. With this one, you're going to take steel ingots to make 4 iron rods, so that's like a 1-to-4 ratio. That's pretty good. So you're going to be ended up making 48 per minute instead of 15 per minute. So you're going to make, if you need rods, like a ton of rods, you could use steel and completely just start making a ton of rods. So this one could be good a little bit later on down the road. I don't think really so much now, but this may be the one we actually go with. Now the other option here is our middle option. This is the bolted iron plates, which is an alternate recipe for reinforced iron plates. With the regular reinforced iron plate, you need 6 iron plates, 12 screws in order to make 1 reinforced iron plate, and it makes 5 per minute. This recipe uses 18 iron plates, 50 screws to make 3 reinforced iron plates. So you're going to get 15 per minute. It's basically you're making about 3 times as many, but you are using a lot more screws and other stuff. So this one, I mean, it's an option. You could choose this one, but I mean, out of these two, I would say steel rods is probably the better recipe to go with. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. All right, let's go ahead and start scanning hard drive number 3. All right, our next hard drive, and I'm getting a little worried here that I'm not going to get a couple of the recipes that I really would like to get right off the bat. So probably should have done this earlier in the game. That way we'd make sure we get a couple of the best starting ones. So let's take a look at what we have here. Here we have, first of all, the steel screws. So this one, instead of turning iron into ingots, ingots into rods, rods into screws, we can go straight and have steel make screws. So this is actually really, really good because you're going to be making 40 screws per minute. Actually, no, you're going to be making 260 per minute. I'm looking at the normal recipe. So the normal recipe, iron rods, one iron rod will make 4 screws for a total of 40 per minute. With this one, you're going to take one iron or one steel beam. Yeah, I believe that's a steel beam. Yes, one steel beam. So not even a steel ingot, but a steel beam. So you have to create the steel and then have the steel converted into a steel beam and then take that beam and make screws out of it. So one steel beam will make 52 screws for a total of 260 screws per minute. So if you're just running short on screws and you really want to make more, this is a good one. But I still feel like the best option would be the iron cast screws because you can just turn iron ingots straight into screws instead of having to deal with the rods. I don't think you get as many as the steel ones, but it gets rid of a extra step. And really the best thing that I kind of like to do in this game is try to use as less screws as possible. Screws can hold up your entire line because one thing on the line is just one screw, and a lot of stuff that requires screws needs a lot of screws. So it's a good one if you're going to need a lot of screws, though. That's a good choice. The next one over here is the pure Caterium ingot. Now, I don't even think this is actually a decent choice at all right now. First of all, you're going to need water, so you're going to need to start piping that water, which is water extractors and everything else. And then with Caterium, and then you're going to throw that into making a Caterium ingot. So it makes 12 per minute. Just using regular Caterium, you're going to make 15 per minute. So I don't think this is a good option at all. If you get this recipe, you'll most likely have better recipes as options. So at least I hope you do. The last one over here is steel frames. Now, this is also a good kind of mid-game recipe right here as well. So normally to make steel modular frames, or regular modular frames I should say, you need reinforced plates and 12 iron rods. And it makes 2, and that's 2 per minute. So this one's going to make 1 more per minute. It's only going to make 3 per minute. So it does sort of make it a little bit faster. I don't know if there's a better thing for frames or not, but this one isn't bad. So I would probably go with this one. But out of these three that we have, I kind of feel like the steel screws are the best. You know what? I think I'm going to go with that one. This one is still an option. It's still on the table, but I really think because I may not end up getting the cast screws, so I think I'm going to go with this one. This is a good mid-game thing. If you have lots of steel, you could probably just turn it into beams and then turn the beams into this and get a ton of screws. So this one isn't bad. Not sure how we'll mix it into the factory though, but may not even end up using it. But as far as the recipes that I've got as a choice here, we're going to go with that one. Alright, so we are down to only 2 hard drives left, and there was a couple of recipes that I was hoping we was going to get. So let's finish this off and see what we get. So hard drive number 2. Alright, here we have our second to last hard drive choices. And automatically, I already see the one I'm going to pick. But let's talk about the other 2 real quick. Starting off with the steamed copper sheets. So regularly, to make copper sheets, you just turn copper ingots into sheets. It takes 2 ingots to make 1 sheet. That's 10 per minute. This is going to make 22.5 per minute, so it definitely is going to almost more than double your production rate of that. But it is going to require an extra copper ingot, and it's going to require water, which means you're going to have to run pipes, and you're going to have a water extractor in order to make that. So I don't really see this one as being good. It is pretty decent as far as production value, but you know, having to add the water and everything into the line, I don't really see that as being optional for our needs right now. You may think different though, but that's just my thinking. Then we go down here on the end. Let's take a look at fused quick wire. So you're going to make 90 of these per minute. The normal one is just one Caterium ingot to make 60 per, or to make 5 and 60 per minute. So that's pretty good. If we go to the alternate, you're going to require ingots of copper and ingots of Caterium in order to do that. So you're going to basically take both of these, combine them together in order to make quick wire. You know, and honestly, I don't really see this one as being needed. At least not until much later in the game. Quick wire is really easy and quick to make off of one node of Caterium. I almost always end up with more Caterium than I actually, or more quick wire I should say, than I actually need, and end up sending a ton of it into the sink. So I don't really need to make more. So I think this one's kind of off of our list too. So if you get this one, I hope you have some better options. It's not bad, but you know, unless you're really needing a lot of Caterium, it's probably better more later in the game than it is early game or mid game. That kind of the point we're at right now is mostly kind of early, close to mid. So that leaves the last one left here in the middle, which is stitched iron plate. Now the stitched iron plate, in my opinion, is one of the better top starting recipes you can get. Normally, to make a reinforced plate, you are going to need 6 plates and 12 screws to make one, and that's going to make 5 per minute. This one is still going to make just a little more than 5 per minute, but it has the bonus of removing the screws. So instead, you're going to take 10 iron plates and 20 copper wire to make 3 plates. So that's pretty good. You're going to make 5.625 per minute, so 5.5 for the most part per minute, which is about a little more than half of what you're normally getting out of that. So it reduces, basically you won't need screws anymore. And remember, getting screws out of the network is kind of a good thing. So I think this one actually is a pretty decent pick right here. I think it is one of the better starting recipes that you can get as far as alternate recipes. But let's go with that one and confirm. All right, now we only have one hard drive left, and I'm hoping to get one of 2 different recipes that are great starting recipes, and I haven't seen them yet, so hopefully this last one will give us one of those. Alright, so let's go ahead and scan our hard drive. Okay, my very last hard drive, and I got the recipe that I was hoping to get, the cast screw. So let's take a look at the other ones before we look at the cast screw though. We have the bolted iron plate. I think we already saw this one before, so we've already kind of taken a look at that one. This is a new one though, fine concrete. So fine concrete allows you to take silica, which you make from quartz, and some limestone to get 10 concrete. And normally you would take 3 limestone to make 1 concrete. So you would get about 15 per minute out of the normal recipe. This one you get about 25 per minute. So this isn't a bad recipe, except for the fact that you are having to use silica. So you have to find a quartz node, then you have to create the silica, and then you have to take that silica and mix it in with limestone in order to get the fine concrete. So you would get quite a bit of this, but at the cost of having to do everything else. So I don't consider this to be a good recipe, definitely not early game. Maybe later on, like if you have extra silica or something, and you know, that's a possibility. You could definitely have extra silica to work with later on. But right now, no, this is a definite no. And like I said, we've already kind of looked at the bolted iron plate, but let's look at the cast screw, because this is the biggest, the number one like recipe, alternate recipe that I highly suggest, and most other people do as well, for early game, the cast screw. So normally, in order to make screws, you would have to first make your iron into ingots, and then the ingots into iron rods, and then take the iron rods, and then you make screws out of those rods. So it takes usually about, let's see, 1 iron rod for 4 screws, and you would get about 40 a minute. So this way, you're actually taking ingots, and instead of having to make the rods, you just make the ingots straight into screws, and you get about 20 screws for 5 ingots, and you're going to be making 50 per minute. Now, to me, that just seems like a better deal. I mean, you don't have to worry about making the iron rods. You don't have to like have that mix in there. So it is a better deal. It's not as good as many as screws that you're going to get with our other recipe we got in the very beginning of this, which was the 260 per minute. That is definitely like probably one of the best screw recipes there is. But you have to make these steel beams and stuff for that first. But this, if you get this, like if you first start playing the game and you get this recipe early on, it is a complete game changer. Like, I'm totally going to put this into our mix in our factory very, very soon. Instead of making the iron rods into the screws, we'll just do this. So it will completely cut down on time, and I highly recommend this recipe. Alright, so we've already went through all 5 hard drives, and I just kind of wanted to go just one more, just to kind of show you guys another option that is a really, really good alternate recipe to get early in the game. We are looking at the iron wire right over here. So this one here. Now these other two, not so great. So we're not even going to look at this one because this is just kind of an added bonus one because we've already went through all 5 hard drives. What I did was I ended up, once I got the cast screws in that last hard drive, then we lucked out on that one. So I still hadn't gotten this one, and this is one that is kind of a big one to get if you can get this one. Not everybody will use this, but it is an excellent early game, and that is the iron wire. Alright, so normally when you're looking at wire, 1 copper ingot will make 2 copper wire, and you're making about 30 per minute. Now, this recipe at first glance, you're only making 22.5 per minute. So you're making less by doing this, and you're spending more material to make it. So this alternate recipe is 5 iron ingots to make 9 copper wire, and you're going to make 22.5 per minute. So again, you're making less but using more material. The big thing about this one, this is why a lot of people actually consider this to be one of the better recipes, is a lot of the times in starting areas you will have a ton of iron, but you won't have that much copper. This particular location here in the grassy fields is one of those locations where we don't have a whole lot of copper. In fact, the copper isn't even that great of a node, but we do have a ton of iron. So we could take one of those iron nodes and have it just making copper wire, and we would be really good off on that because, yeah, we would get extra. So you could have a normal node of iron that would probably produce more copper wire than what an impure node of copper would actually be getting you. And that's why this is considered to be another one of the great recipes. So I just wanted to toss this one in here. I did the reload save and just kind of went through a couple of these just to see what else we could get, because I was looking for this particular recipe in general in the 5 hard drives that we went through, and we didn't get it. So I still wanted to show it off as one of the ones that is a good one to get, and this was the best way I could find to do that. So this one right here, that one is it. All right, and with all of that being said, now that we've went through all 5 of our hard drives and we got a few decent, good starting recipes, those I consider to be the best starting recipes early in the game and right around Cove, essentially where we are now in the How to Satisfactory series. Those are the best recipes that you can possibly find. Hopefully, with any luck, you guys have went through this and you've gotten at least some of those recipes, including the cast screws, because the cast screws, in my opinion, is the #1 best starting recipe that you can get. It will make making screws so much easier, and it'll make your life so much easier. All right, guys, that's going to do it from here in How to Satisfactory. I am Phoenix. You guys, wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.